guys, and thank you for visiting my channel, Simple Solutions for Busy Life. I'm all about doing things fast and efficient as much as I can because there is so much to do in a given day. So I really do enjoy cooking, and sometimes I do wish I could spend more time, but today is one of those days where I want to just put something together real fast. My daughter is not feeling well, so chicken noodle soup is definitely her favorite during those times, and it's a little yucky outside as well, so it's a perfect time for that. And you know, I do it many different ways, but Instant Pot is one of my go-tos for sure. And so for that, I mean, you will need, I used to obviously chicken, and you could do different types of chicken. This time I opted for skinless chicken thighs, you know, but you guys obviously can use whatever works for you if you want chicken breast or whatever. But I do find that chicken thighs tend to be a little bit more flavorful. There are times I'll buy it with the skin on, and then I'll just later take it off once it's done cooking. I typically use a carrot, an onion, I'll use some bay leaf as well. I'll use a couple of potatoes. If I have celery on hand, I'll use that too. I didn't happen to have it today, so that works as well. I'll use some olive oil, and I'll show you why, salt, pepper obviously, and things like that. So I'll show you that the cooking time is not going to take that much really. I mean, cooking time is one thing, but prepping time is really what I'm looking at. So it's 12:26 p.m. right now. I only peeled carrot and the onion at this point. So we're just going to get started. So with my Instant Pot, the first thing I'll do, and I honestly, I clean and chop as I go, because while one thing is cooking, I'm chopping and prepping the second thing. So I'm gonna just hit saute option here, and what that's gonna do, it's gonna heat up the insert of the Instant Pot, which will get nice and hot, and that will allow me to saute onions and the carrots. So while this is being heated, literally, I'm gonna put the camera down for a quick second, and I'm gonna chop up the onion. While I was cutting the onion, the insert got hot enough where now it'll allow me to put the olive oil inside. I mean, you guys can obviously use different kind of oil. I tend to stick with the healthier options if I can. Canola is probably the worst for you. So I'll put a little in. You obviously want your insert hot before you put the oil, so this way you can prevent it from sticking. So, and I'll give it a minute or so for it to heat up, and then I'll throw my onions in there. While this is being heated, I'll actually grate my carrot. As you can tell, my Instant Pot telling me that it's hot, but even if it does, I mean, you can kind of know that once it's a minute or so, it gets hot fast enough. In the meantime, I grated the carrots. I tend to use the small one. I mean, some people use that. Some of you might choose to chop your carrots. My daughter doesn't like them big in her soup, but I definitely want to add a little bit of color to the soup, so it's not just all white and bland. But at this time, I can fold the onions in. And I'll typically let my onions saute first, just for maybe a minute or so before I fold the carrots. Let's see if my camera will came up with this here or not. So I'll let it go for maybe a minute or so. I mean, stir occasionally, because you don't want to, you know, with the Instant Pot, I find it may not be always even brown, but, you know, just stir it periodically. And once it starts being kind of, not golden color yet, but you'll see that it's been there for a minute or so, I'll add my carrots in. At the meantime, guys, what I'm doing, I'm gonna peel potatoes, because I don't prep everything all at once, because I notice when you do step by step, I can be prepping as something is cooking, so that saves a lot of time for me. We are at like 12:32 now, so I'm like 6 minutes in, and obviously that's taking me extra time because I have to put the camera down, turn it on and off, etc. So my carrots are starting to turn a bit golden on some sides, so I think I'm gonna fold the carrots at this time. I'm a right-handed person, so it's kind of hard to videotape with right hand and stir with the left. So it's a little awkward. So I'll let this go now. So while my onion was being sauteed, I peeled 2 out of my 3 potatoes. So by the time carrots are done, I definitely will be ready with those. Hey guys, so at this time my carrots definitely browned up, and so did my onion. Keep an eye on your oil, because sometimes you might need to add it, although it's not ideal to add the oil after. You kind of want to get it hot, but that's fine too. So at this point I'm basically gonna fold my potatoes, chicken, water, and season it to taste. One of the tricks I do is I boil a tea kettle with hot water ahead of time. So this way it just expedites the heating time for the pot to come to boil before the timer kicks on. I mean, obviously with the frozen chicken, maybe not ideal, because technically if you wanted to defrost the chicken, you don't want to defrost it in the hot water, you want to do it with cold. But I've noticed the taste is not any worse, and it kind of cooks fast enough in the Instant Pot anyhow. So what I do is, if it's frozen chicken, I just give it an extra minute or two on the Instant Pot to cook, versus if it was fully defrosted. So I'm gonna just get boiling hot water and season it to taste and fold the chicken up. All right guys, the water is in. I seasoned it to taste. Another thing I like to add is whole black peppers. I mean, I'll put probably just a handful, but you guys can do the freshly ground pepper. Italian seasoning works well, any poultry seasoning you have. It really is up to you, whatever you prefer. At the very end, I'll add some dill. That's just my personal favorite, but I don't like to cook it too much, so that will be like after it's pretty much done. So as you can tell, I'm doing it probably about 3/4 of a pot, I guess. You know, these are my potatoes. One thing you want to do with potatoes, once you dice them or cut them whichever way you like, you definitely want to rinse them so you're not burning extra starch in them and things like that. So my chicken is done. So the last thing I'm gonna do here is basically fold my chicken, and I do it whole, because what I do is, once my soup is done, I'll just pull it out and cut it to pieces and fold it back in. That's what I prefer doing. Now, if my chicken was defrosted already, I probably could have pre-cut it ahead of time. So whatever works for you guys. I mean, right now I'm all about saving time, so this is kind of what I'm striving for. And so at this point I'm fully ready to close the lid. I had to pause for a minute so I can wash my hand after handling the raw chicken. Definitely something you don't want to be touching any other objects once you touch the chicken or any other raw meat. So I'm basically gonna close the lid, make sure that this thing is turned away from venting, because I don't want to let all the air out. And at this point I'm gonna shut off my saute regime off, and I want to put it on poultry. Like I said, with the frozen chicken I'll probably add an extra minute or two, so 13, 14 is usually fine. If the chicken is not frozen, I'll do 11, 12 minutes sometimes. I'll probably put 14 just to be safe. And so going back to time, we are 12:48 right now, so I'm about 22 minutes prep time. And honestly guys, I probably spent 5-7 minutes just videotaping and pausing and things like that. I mean, in reality, if I were doing it without any distractions, my entire prep time would be probably 10-15 minute stops. So at this point there is nothing else to do other than wait. It'll take a little time for the water to heat up and get back to boiling, although this time is definitely cut in half at the very least, if not more, by me pre-boiling my water. But this is definitely not a necessary step for you guys. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm all about cutting time away from prepping rather than cooking. I'm okay with waiting while it's cooking. Now, one thing you might ask me about the pasta itself, or noodles, whatever you choose to cook. I like to cook it on the side, because obviously if you add it to Instant Pot, it's going to be one big gooey mess, even if you do it at the end. I don't like adding rice or things like that to my soups. What I do is, typically, if my daughter wants rice soup, I'll cook rice on the side, I'll cook pasta on the side, and then what I do is, like, I'll have it ready, and basically she will fold it, like a couple of spoons of rice or a couple of spoons of noodles right into the soup. So this way it's never gooey, it doesn't soak all the water in the rice or what have you. So I mean, that works well for me. So in this kind of pasta, this one I got at Aldi, I mean, like 30-something cents, like, you can't beat that. There are different versions at Walmart, you know, we have Publix in Florida, there are whatever stores you guys want to use. There is like alphabet type pasta that you want to use for like younger kids, if, you know, to kind of create some fun. So whatever you wish. So this kind of pasta, all I'm gonna do is basically boil some water in the pot, salt it, and then cook it for, this one probably goes 3-5 minute stops. and then you just drain it and let it, you know, I add some probably butter to it so it doesn't stick and things like that, and then wait until my soup is done. So I'll be back with you later. Okay guys, just time check real quick. It's 1:17. We are 4 minutes from our soup being done. So roughly all in all, as you could tell, it probably will take us about 1 hour from start to finish, and that's with me having the hot water ready to go. So while my soup was being cooked, I cooked the pasta like I mentioned. I added a couple of pieces of butter so that it doesn't stick together. I use Kerrygold butter, which is grass-fed, you know, from grass-fed cows. I mean, I prefer, like, I don't like any canola oil or, you know, country rock or anything like that. I try to use like as much of our natural products as I can. This way it's a healthy fat, although it's a fat, but it's a healthy kind. So basically I'll mix it together and I'll be ready for my chicken in just a few. Yay! Our timer just went off, so we're finally ready to see what happened here. So at this point I'm gonna just hit the cancel button. I mean, obviously you don't have to hover over your pot. I mean, once it goes off, it'll just put it on the warming cycle. I don't need it to be warmed. So what I'm gonna do right now, I'm gonna release the steam. So typically I don't naturally release it when I do soup, I just let it out. It's gonna be a little noisy, so I'll come back with you in a couple of minutes once it's done. And by the way, the time now is 1:21. Okay, it looks like we're officially done. The steam is released, and I can slowly open my lid now. What I like about it, the carrots almost disappear by the time you're done cooking it, but the flavors really saturate, and it kind of all blends in really nicely together. So what I'll do right now is I'll pull out the chicken and I'll cut it in smaller pieces and fold it right back in. Or you could leave it outside and just fold it as you serve. It's up to you guys. And I'll be back in just a couple of minutes once I'm done cutting it. And here we are done. So for my daughter, I served it like I said. I put some pasta, soup, chicken, and things like that. I have some toppings as well. I personally love, as I mentioned, the dill. I like to add some green onions. My daughter loves it with the croutons. You know, you guys could do crackers, bread, what have you. For myself, I'm actually on the keto diet right now, so I can't have carbs, but I do love some broth. So I just simply poured some broth with some chicken and some greens, and that's gonna be my cooked meal. So at the end of the day, guys, it's 1:35 right now. I mean, obviously I had to pause many times, but you know, in my mind, 20 minutes of prepping time, you have a quick and easy meal. And the best part of it, it probably was under $6. And the chicken I got was actually green white, which is like an organic kind of chicken without antibiotics, with pasta and a couple of potatoes, onion, and carrot. I mean, it really was under $6, and you have plenty of servings to serve for your family. So I hope you enjoy. Try it out. Let me know what you think. And also comment below, because my channel is really for various solutions, not just cooking, but what would you like to do? What would simplify your life? What would be beneficial for you to see? And if it's meal recipes, I'm okay with sharing with you what I've done for my family and what I follow, whether it's dinner, lunchtime, what have you. Share with me.